Before we reflect back on the impact of Ollie Gordon and Nick Martin, we look forward to more of this particular brand of basketball. This Steve Lutz team is 3-0 for the first time since Cade Cunningham was doing the daggone thing in 2020.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Alldeo State. Today, we're partially brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get $150 back in bonus bets if that $5 hauler is a winner. Make sure that you visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Meanwhile, we get started in the conversation of basketball. We will obviously talk about the Nick Martin, Ollie Gordon situations, but before we do that, we've got to talk a little bit about this particular brand, the defensive brand of basketball that we hoped we would get out of Steve Lutz. The old school Eddie Sutton mantra seems to be existing in this particular ball club. And yes, I saw the crowd size, not great, but as Steve Lutz even said, it was a little bit bigger than the last game. And that's realistically all you can ask for, is continue to win. And if you do that, you get reciprocal treatment from the fan base by the seats. Think the butts will come as long as we continue to win, especially with the brand of basketball that this Cowboy squad is playing with. It is a completely different looking Bryce Thompson. This version of offense, as opposed to just a bunch of isolation matchups, is clearly much more suited for him as a shooter. Not to mention, now we know we have other shooters that we can rely on because Marcellus Chi-Chi Avery, the UCF transfer, all the players talk about when he gets hot. It's a pretty remarkable thing to watch. And now we know that Brandon Newman can do the daggone thing too, which was the individual that came over from Western Kentucky with Steve Lutz. And he drops 18 points, and he looked pretty smooth in the process. Not to mention, we got Abu Usman, who came off of that one-game suspension. Obviously, it was very minor, right? Violation of team thing. So maybe he was late to a class, maybe he was late to a practice or a film session, whatever the case may be. He served his punishment, which I think also accentuates even more of this disciplinary man that Steve Lutz is, and how the differentiation between this year and last year can already be broken down to that exact thing: the discipline, the tenacity, the toughness, the work ethic. Being a player's coach like Mike Boynton, it is beautiful in recruiting, but sometimes you have to lay down the law of the land and let everybody on the team know that that's not going to fly. You cannot do that, regardless of what it may be. If you set the standard and you mess up the standard, you're either not going to play or you get out of the game. And that is visible on the court as well. He has been very transparent. Whenever somebody does something ridiculously stupid, they're going to get pulled off the floor. AKA, if it's something that we've done 100 times and they don't typically make that mistake, or they know better, then they're probably getting off of the floor. If it's something very minor, or if it's a hustle-related difficulty, then they remain on the floor. So he does discipline this team very equally up and down the board, no matter who you are, where you came from, so on and so forth. And then Abu Usman had something to prove, and he was able to do just that. Rocking the 33, kind of looking like an older number 33, a friend of the show, Marshall Moses. Marshall Moses was somebody that was an enforcer down low that really would kind of create the blueprint for the tenacity of that game. It looks like Abu Usman, the Xavier transfer, can fill that same void. And then whenever you do have shooters that can spread the floor like we are able to now, on top of the facilitator that Khalil Brantley is, that's going to spell a lot of difficulty for other teams. And when you play in the most difficult league in the country, these are the things that you need to see. Bryce Thompson getting hot. It's beautiful, especially whenever it's set in a half-court, set. It's not just off of run and gun. But we're really good defensively. We've averaged, double digits in steals in every single game thus far. We had 18 steals last night as well. This is a team that can get up and down the floor. And we're scoring 30% of our points off of those fast break opportunities, off of steals that we're creating. And we only had 7 steals this previous game against us. So that's a number that's going down. We're taking care of the ball better while still being insanely aggressive. Watching bodies fly all over the floor is absolutely phenomenal. And what it does is it builds a different set of expectations than the previous seasons. The previous seasons, if Bryce Thompson wasn't hot or Avery Anderson wasn't hot, offensively, we didn't have the capability to dig ourselves out of very many holes. It's almost like Casey Dunn was running the offense for basketball. All right, I'll stick to where we are here. But this is an absolutely wonderful thing to see because there was a lot of trepidation, I think, coming into the season, not only because of what we witnessed in the Mike Boynton era, but there was a decent amount of people that thought Steve Lutz was a little bit of a reach. I was not one of those. That was actually the first name that I'd mentioned other than Doug Gottlieb. And how ironic it was to see Doug and him square off in game 1. And I did pick Doug Gottlieb's Phoenix to get the W, but they're still working off some things. Isaiah Miranda was too unhealthy to play most of that game. When he gets healed from the knee injury, I think they'll be a completely different team. Nonetheless, now we need to talk about the butts in the seats, right? And I do think that this upcoming Charleston Classic tournament is going to be huge. We're going to have the opportunity to play teams like Drake and Miami and some of the bigger brands in basketball that will be good for the strength of schedule and RPI at the end of the year. Not that you need it, because in the Big 12, when you're playing all of those heavy hitters like your Houstons and your KUs and your K-States and your Arizonas, you're going to have a lot of opportunities. Obviously, Baylor, you can throw it in there as well. Texas Tech at times. This is not the end-all, be-all of what we all want to see, but I do think that there will be a response, or there should be a response, if the Cowboys go to that Charleston tournament and are very competitive. Like if they win 3 games and end up in the Charleston Classic, tournament championship, even if they were to lose, I think that would be enough to show a decent number of the fan base that this is a little bit of a different brand of basketball. And realistically, guys, if we don't have a lot of reasons, nor do we have any more time to get Boone Pickens rocking and rolling, this is going to be a good opportunity to get your seats comfortable in Gallagher-Iba. Because not only are we going to be able to rock the Gallagher-Iba Arena again like it used to be for men's basketball, hopefully, women's basketball is there. And although it doesn't bring the same amount of thrills and dunks and crazy stuff that men's sports do, this J.C. Hoyt basketball team is fun to watch because we can do it from all 3 areas of the game. We can shoot. We've got a presence in Magassa down low that most teams in the country are going to have a difficult time contending with. We're decent defensively, and I would imagine that would be one of the things that we're going to try to get ironed out throughout the course of the season. So that makes watching the Cowgirls a draw in and of itself. But this Cowboy basketball brand is precisely what we needed. Under Mike Boynton, we could get all the talent, but we couldn't turn that talent into something massively productive, which does make us, be kind of missing some of the Cade Cunningham times. Like, Cade was the offense, but he was still such a great facilitator that it wasn't always extremely obvious. But if we had run some semblance of a real offense under Cade Cunningham's direction, imagine what those teams could have been like. And imagine what your experience inside Gallagher-Iba would have been if you got to watch that Cade Cunningham club in 2020, because we had other talented dudes around him that were potentially instrumental in us making a run. That was the robbed year of Mike Boynton. But this 3-0 start for the first time since Cade is worth getting excited about because of how critical Steve Lutz is of his own team. He doesn't blow smoke. He just tells it like it is, and he keeps it real with the guys, and that accountability was what we were lacking last year, and it's nice to see it. Just like it's nice for you to have another gift prepared for the holidays. Holiday season is around the corner. Well, it is here. Christmas is around the corner. But in the midst of a holiday season, the gift-giving process can potentially be easier than ever because nothing delivers like an Omaha steak. It is the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks that's going to make you never want to skip this opportunity year after year. Do not miss out on the craziness of the holiday season because you can get ahead of it all with omahasteaks.com. Plus, you can get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gift-giving experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off statewide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That is 50% off at omahasteaks.com, OMAHA steaks.com, and get an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. Make sure that you get squared away today with Omaha Steaks. Allow your gift giving this season to be a much better, tendier, juicier version. So now we get to shift it back into the football landscape. And as we know, Brennan Presley is obviously moving on. Collin Oliver's moving on. From everything I've gathered, Nick Martin is also prepared to move on to a new direction, to explore the professional ranks. I think he's going to still get drafted no matter what. Obviously, a healthy version of Nick Martin that is coming off a 140 tackle season. You're talking a third round style of guy, maybe fourth round. But even as it sits, much like Collin Oliver, guys that are likely third, fourth round level talents are going to slide to the back more often than not. But even then, you're talking about 5, 6, 7 round style of guys that are good enough to make a roster and carve out a nice little role for themselves in the NFL. Ollie Gordon, same can be said with him. That seems to be pretty common knowledge. Although both of these gentlemen could come back, so could Collin Oliver. It does make sense, right? They got to focus throughout the course of the last couple years on getting the physicality down. And Nick Martin came in as an undersized, linebacker, which was why we were able to get him. He goes through a couple years of body by glass, learns the system, and then he's out there, putting up the most tackles in the Big 12. A lot of people outside of the Big 12 automatically assumed last year that Danny Stutzman was the best linebacker in the conference, but Nick Martin was the best. He led them in tackles. He led them in every single statistical category except for forced fumbles. That was the only category where Danny Stutzman was leading Nick Martin. And whenever you look at the beginning of this season, Trey Rucker was number 1 in the country in tackles for the first 4 or 5 weeks, and Nick Martin was number 2. So if you take that sample size out, NFL scouts and executives are obviously going to be able to see that the talent is there. The speed is absolutely off of the charts. The relentless effort really took a negative effect on the team. Whenever he went out and Collin Oliver went out, this was obviously a completely different defense. So much so that the defense coordinator, Brian Nardo, didn't really have a lot of adjustment capabilities once those two individuals went down. So they were the backbone of the defense. Whenever we look back on somebody like a Nick Martin, it's going to be, another tried and true Malcolm Rodriguez style of story. Somebody that was undersized, underdeveloped, under-recruited, undervalued, comes to Oklahoma State, goes through the body by glass system, and bada boom, bada bing, bada bang, they're an All-American. Now, this is something that we've been beneficiaries of recently at the linebacker position. So regardless of what happens at the end of the season with the shakeups and the defensive coaches, I would imagine that if Mike Gundy is going to be the guy next year, right, and there's no major reason to assume otherwise at this moment, then Joe Bob will be back. Even if they're going to shuffle around a lot of the defensive dudes or they're going to potentially move on from a lot of the defensive dudes, I don't think Joe Bob Clements will be part of that crew. I think you could make the argument that Joe Bob Clements might get the job as defensive coordinator because a decent number of people thought he was going to get it before Brian Nardo. Nonetheless, the development of guys like Malcolm Rodriguez and Eggman and Bongbamiga, and now you have the Devin Harpers of the world joined by Malcolm most recently, and now Nick Martin. he'll always be viewed as one of the best linebackers to ever do it, just because of that 140 tackle season. In the beginning of this season, he was putting up the same comparable numbers. So he was well on his way to putting up another absolutely preposterous season statistically before the injury. I think Collin Oliver's drafting process is going to be a little bit more difficult because I don't know that he had the constant ascension and development like Nick Martin, but the skill, the traits, the talent, the size, speed, all of that, the elusivity, and the ability to get to the quarterback are obviously things that the next level is going to be very excited about. And then Ollie Gordon, it is very, very likely, right, because he was pegged as a top 20 pick in the preseason. There was some prognostications that had him going number 18 or number 20, number 21, right around that range. So we went from a overall top 20 pick to potentially a third or fourth rounder because of 1 year. But I do think that it still makes some sense, even though he definitely lost some value, because I think executives can also see how disastrous of a season this was, how mismanaged the roster was, especially in conjunction with the style of offense we were trying to run, on top of getting hit in the backfield like 52% of the time. These are things that NFL scouts and executives can see. So whenever you take it in the sample size of last season as well, I think he's going to be fine. He did lose some value. He is going to slip, but he'll also always be remembered as one of the GOATs. Ironically enough, though, when you're talking about wide receiver and running back, being on the GOAT list is difficult, right? Chuba Hubbard had a 2,000-yard season, and he's not really talked about as one of the GOATs at running back for Oklahoma State Cowboys. He just got a nice extension, which is good to see. Jaylen Warren seems to be the future running back for the Steelers after Najee Harris is gone out of here. So I don't really think that the Ollie Gordon story will be done in the record books until it's kind of noticed in the NFL, because there is going to be some conversations about him being a one-year wonder, one-trick pony, that kind of thing. But I think whenever you look at the totality of his time as a Cowboy and the difficulty that it had to have been living in that offensive system, he went through multiple different iterations of blocking schemes, right? We were originally a zone blocking scheme, then we changed it up, went a little bit more traditional. Then we tried to add some, wildcat stuff and diamond formation stuff. In my opinion, we needed more of that. But too little, too late. Nonetheless, I think we will always look back at Ollie Gordon, even more so now, with love and admiration, because he did turn down the $1.1 million, $1.3 million, $1.5 million, whatever, of the Mizzous and the Ole Misses, the Oregons and the Bamas of the world. He did turn all of that down to come back and be a Cowboy. Not only that, he was very instrumental in making sure that all of his offensive linemen got paid as well. We could talk ad nauseum about, how it was a mistake after the fact, of course, but in the time, the fact that Ollie was willing to come back was a big move. He was willing to take less money was a big move. He's willing to pay all of his offensive linemen, big move. And I think some of those things are why he'll always be remembered, more so than just the 1,700-yard season and winning the Doak Walker Award. But he is the only Doak Walker Award winner in the history of Cowboy football, even with the legends like we just mentioned. And we also got to talk about people like Tatum Bell that have done phenomenal things both in college and the NFL that maybe didn't do all the same things that Ollie Gordon did. And being a fan favorite, he does legitimately go around campus and talk to people and sign autographs like a normal individual. He goes to softball games and baseball games and basketball games, both the men's and the women's. He goes to wrestling matches. He is all over that campus. So, again, if he wouldn't have toted the rock at all this season after, the first 6 games, I was okay with him making a business decision to secure an NFL future and not risk any more injury because of all of that stuff. I don't think that his financial compensation in the NIL department had anything to do with what he was hopefully going to do. It was because of what he already did and the fact that he was legitimately a phenomenal ambassador for Oklahoma State, being on campus, involved in almost every single sport. And it wasn't just to show up, make an appearance. Hi, I'm Ollie Gordon, and to leave. He sits there. I've been in Gallagher-Iba, and he legitimately enjoys the game. But he's also very welcoming to the fan base. And that Doak Walker Award is going to be pretty fun. I actually don't think that we did a very good job in any capacity of hyping him up and building some semblance of a Heisman campaign. Now, again, hindsight's 2022 or whatever. Yeah, 2020. There it is. Catch 22, hindsight 2020. You get it. You could make a debate that NIL is potentially what caused some of these guys like Alan Bowman and Kendall Daniels to continue to get snaps whenever it was very obvious that it may not have been the most advantageous route for the team. But that is something that needs to be discussed at some point in time later on in life. Not right now. But it is time right now for you to hammer the over on some former Cowboys. Whether it be Tyreek Hill or Justice Hill or Tylan Wallace or Jalen Warren or Chuba Hubbard, some Oklahoma State Cowboys are going to give you the opportunity to hammer some over with FanDuel. Tackle the best NFL action with the best in the sports gambling business. Number one sports book is FanDuel right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if it is a winner. This is the sports book that gives you everything you need to place live bets in the NFL. When you get that tingling sensation in the middle of the game that something crazy is about to happen, you can now check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more from the same page where you place your bets from. Make sure that you visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Get your $150 back in bonus bets by being a $5 winner on your first bet. Bet the $5, get the $150 back in bonus bets by going to FanDuel.com. Never waste that tingling sensation in the middle of the game ever again. Make every moment matter more with FanDuel, because you already know it is the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Gajewski returned a very young ball club. We didn't have an overabundance of seniors on this last year's team, so we knew that we were going to get a lot of youth coming back, and it was going to be a very exciting time and a very exciting season. Well, he did even more. So I'm having some trouble finding the exact number. When you go to On3, it says like we're ranked number 5 in the country right now, but they have us listed as number 11. But they had us listed as the number 11 ranked recruiting class in the country off of 3 girls instead of 7. So we're right around the top 5 because they had us number 11 with just the 3 of Libby Jacquez out of Moore, Oklahoma, who was ranked number 47 overall recruit in the country by Softball America. And then you also had Aubrey Jones, number 63 overall prospect in the country, according to Softball America. And then Ella McCloskey, the number 34 overall prospect in America by Softball America. So those 3 were putting us as the number 11 ranked recruiting class in the country. So whenever you factor in that we got a couple more All-Americans, the number 3 outfielder in the country, a bona fide catcher that can drop 18 home runs in a matter of a couple minutes, yeah, I'd say that we're easily in the top 5. So let's go over this whole deal. On top of the 3 main girls that we just mentioned that had us right there, we also got the number 3 ranked outfielder in America out of Owasso, Oklahoma, Jalen Austin. She helped Owasso win a state title while batting a .606. That is not a typo out of my mouth. She batted .606 with 63 hits, 13 doubles, 13 home runs, and 38 RBIs to become the Oklahoma 6A Player of the Year. She was also somebody that was instrumental in getting this Kenny Gajewski build up in the recruiting. Kenny said that she's a middle of the field outfielder with crazy arm strength. She can run, she can bat, she can do all things. She's the true triple threat all over the field, no matter what. And is going to have the opportunity to start day 1. So congratulations to Jalen Austin. Then you have Gabby Castillo out of Richmond, Texas. This is a tried and true catcher who was 2023 and 2024 Offensive Player of the Year, first team MVP, while batting .419 with 44 hits, 4 bombs, and 26 RBIs. This is a catcher that can also play some outfield, that can hit the gaps and really, really, really run. For a catcher that can do a little bit of everything, that's an absolutely great get for Kenny Gajewski. Then you have Montgomery Henderson out of Katy, Texas. She is a pure power threat, a 4-year varsity letter winner at Katy High School, which is one of the powerhouses in the state of Texas for sports. She played infield while batting .434, 13 home runs, 53 RBIs, and was the home run derby champion at the Triple Crown tournament up here in Colorado for the 4th of July. She put up 18 bombs in under 60 seconds. So this is somebody that can hit to all levels of the field, that can do a little bit of everything. And Kenny Gajewski said that her game is mirrored a lot like that of Carly Godwin. And that girl hits a home run, seems like every single time she steps out on the field. So that's pretty elite company. Speaking of elite company, from Moore, Oklahoma, Libby Jaquez, we just mentioned she's the number 47 ranked player in the country, according to Softball America. This last year, she batted .482, 13 home runs, 37 RBIs. She was All-State, All-Regional, Oklahoma City Metro Softball Player of the Year, Outfielder of the Year, somebody that can realistically do a little bit of everything that you could physically possibly ask for, that was sought after by all of the big-time brands, even OU. For this iteration of Cowgirl softball, knowing we have a young squad and now knowing this freshman group that will be coming up behind them, it's absolutely insane. Kenny Gajewski said that, her family dynamic is tremendous. The power and speed combination is one of the best he's ever seen. And it might be, his words, one of the best, the greatest combination of speed and power we've ever had at Oklahoma State. His words, not mine. Then you have Aubrey Jones out of Gaylord, Michigan, the number 63 ranked player in America. She was a first-team All-American, the Michigan Gatorade Player of the Year, Max Preps Player of the Year, led the nation with 26 home runs while batting .444 with 84 RBIs. This is kind of like Cade Coots, right, to do both, because she also can jump inside the circle and post a .78 ERA, 0.78 ERA, while striking out 122 batters and 81 innings pitched. And this was the most exciting thing for Kenny Gajewski, was the family dynamic, trying to get somebody from Michigan to Stillwater, Oklahoma. Not the easiest thing to do, but we've done it before. Thank you, Nolan Schubert. But in his own words, a plug-and-play shortstop right away, can run, hit for crazy power, crazy arm strength, has a very athletic family. Her sister played for Virginia Tech college. Her dad played some college ball as well, very good lineage. And this is going to be a theme, right? Because now we're going to go to Ella McCloskey. Ella McCloskey is the number 34 ranked player in America. She's a 4-year letter winner at Mater Dei High School, which is another one of those massive big brands that is very difficult to get into. She was the defensive player of the year on 2 occasions. She was All Trinity League recipient, and she was able to bat .472 in this previous year. She was All-American game, the future Colorado Stars game, and another one of these common themes here. Brother played Division I basketball. Sister played D1 volleyball. Dad played D1 basketball. Mom played D1 softball. The entire family is nothing but Division I athletes that has allowed her IQ to go through the roof. Her mom, being a Division I softball player, has been able to help her learn some of the things from a verbiage standpoint. And the athleticism obviously runs crazy in the family. And the sky is the limit. Kenny Gajewski's words could not be more true when it comes to Miss McCloskey. Then you have Michaela Smith out of Needville, Texas. A second-team All-American, district MVP, super elite team pitcher of the year, and an MVP at Needville High School. She had a 2.84 ERA with 149 strikeouts and 120 and 2/3 innings pitched, while also being named a defensive MVP. So yes, you can get it done on the bump, but she can flash the leather and have some fun with the glove as well. She also possesses a lot of speed, movement, and instantaneously out of the box that can do a lot of things, that can switch up her stances and have the capability to keep a pitcher on their heels if she were to step into the box. But as a pitcher, she's the epitome of somebody that's going to give you real swing and miss capabilities, which is going to leave every single hitter she faces literally on their heels the entire AB. That will be problematic for the teams we face, but it's going to be great for us. It's been great for us to have a bye week. We get a little reprieve tomorrow, and we get to watch some of the other fun Big 12 matchups. So until the next one, that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere, so happy you choose to be here. Like it if you like the daggone thing. Dislike it if you don't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast of people out there. The bricks, the bread, the butter, the fountain, the fondue, the funky stuff, the funny stuff. Do what you do. Hit the stars. We need some more reviews, so let's make it happen, Captain. All righty, y'all. That is it. You know the drill. Later, all of my taters.